Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We're real tech for real people. Today's video will be a tech therapy video. These videos are rather long and they go into the psychological aspect of technology, us living with our technology, the effects it has on our mental state. This is the channel at heart. These, again, are very long videos. They're about 25 to 35 minutes long, and these are going to be based, or at least this video is based on the title, where knowledge is power versus ignorance is bliss. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Again, this is a tech therapy video. They are long form videos. Basically, me to you, it's a discussion among friends. And today's topic is one I've touched on before, but have not gone deep into it. And I do want to do that today. It is knowledge is power versus ignorance is bliss. And I do feel at times that our community, whether it's on this platform for technology, video games, PCs, TVs, whether it's the written reviews, anything that is published about these panels, sometimes it is a little bit too much information. Sometimes it's at the wrong time, and it's making you not enjoy your recent purchase. It's actually, it can be a torturous, lonely feeling. Now, while we all talk in the comments, and it's the best part about our platform, is being able to discuss technology. That's why forums have always been very, very popular, being able to talk amongst people that love technology. But we've also known that it can be a very toxic place, whether it's forums or YouTube or communities. It can be extremely toxic, and things are said about displays, whether they're true or not, or people share what they feel. Some of you have just bought panels, or you have older panels, and it literally makes you look at your purchase differently. And that's really going to be the focus of today's video. I was recently talking to FOMO on Tech. You guys know FOMO. You guys have seen me on his live streams. He's awesome. He's a great guy. And he actually hit me up a few Fridays ago. And he mentioned to me the debacle that has been the C1, G1, the evil panel situation that LG is now going through. Him and I have also talked about the variable refresh rate issue with Sony, the audio issues, the Dolby Atmos issues with Samsung QN90A. We've talked about a lot of these things. We do talk about them a lot before they're even common knowledge. So it was a few Fridays ago, and FOMO hits me up saying, did you see my latest video on the Evo C1 panel? You have to do a tech therapy video on that. What's interesting is him asking me that, or saying that I should do a video like this on it, shows you the kind of person that he is. What he's saying is that I'm going to deliver the information, but you may need to follow up this information and kind of calm people down and settle people down, because it's going to bother a lot of people. And it's not just the C1, the G1, it's been every panel in the last number of years. People will buy them, they will enjoy them. I will hear their initial reaction to a purchase, and then without fail there will be some information that'll come out about that panel that doesn't even change the picture quality, but it does change their thoughts about their own panel. It basically in a way ruins the experience, but not to their eye. And that's something I want to talk about today. With technology, we're worried about defects for years. This channel was born from having very expensive panels myself and having defect after defect and after defect. Even though I had done so much research, the panel lottery was a new thing to me, 2016. Before that, it was about doing research. Hopefully it turned on, maybe some dead pixels. You would know if your panel was good or not. But with the landscape that we have now, panels are changing by the day. You're having firmware updates change picture quality. You're having promised features later. You're having companies like Sony struggle with their eARC. You're having LG change picture quality throughout the lifetime of the LG CX from last year. Some of these things are tangible and are changing the image quality, and there's nothing I can really do about that. What I can help you with is the aspect of being very confident in your purchase. Being confident that you did the research. Now, as far as who to watch on YouTube and on this platform, what to read, my answer to that is read everyone. Watch everyone. Get as many aspects from as many different sources as you possibly can. As many different personalities that you possibly can. What's great about this platform is we're all so different. We may do many of the same things, but we are very, very different in our approach, and each one of those approaches is valuable. So my advice is watch as many people as you can. However, my secondary advice is once you make that purchase, you get that panel home, and if it's a clean panel, meaning there are no defects, there is no pixel issues, no dirty screen effect, and you have that wow moment that so many of us look for, so many of us want, that wow home theater aspect. If you actually have that, excuse the pause. You have to understand what it's like being a content creator when you lose your studio and you're trying to film with noise everywhere. Anyway, I'll kind of edit that down a bit. But my advice is once you are pleased, once you have that wow factor that so many of us covet, turn us off. Don't watch anymore. Don't look for affirmation. Don't look for the support that, hey, I bought this and I love it. Stop looking at reviews, especially once your return window closes. Just hang out with your panel, enjoy your panel. That's why I always recommend when you buy something that is high end, or you buy something for the name versus your usage, you buy something that is the highest end. It's the best TV this year. So this year I would say it's the A90J. So far, in my opinion. So the Sony A90J. Let's just say this year you buy it, and you're looking for constant affirmation. It's a very expensive panel. You buy it, and now you're constantly watching reviews on it. And then you'll see a video where 4K 120 has posterization on it. And now you are doing 4K 120, and you don't even know what posterization is, but now you're focused on it. You're looking for it. A lot of things that we discuss, a lot of the flaws that are on these panels, you probably wouldn't see. You probably wouldn't even notice they were there. But that extra information, it should be delivered to you. It has value. But if you continue to seek it after you already have your panel and you can no longer return the panel, it's torturous. Now you spend more time pixel peeping instead of actually sitting back and enjoying your new purchase, whether it's watching a movie, playing a video game, and relaxing. You guys work very, very hard. It's very crazy time right now. Toxicity, tension. It's a very dicey time. Everyone's going back to work. People are being forced back to work that were working from home. It's going to affect families. That's beyond what's happened with the pandemic, beyond the loss of life. You don't need anything else making you crazy. Buying displays is incredibly difficult. Buying a new Xbox, buying other pieces of technology isn't that hard. You choose one, you buy it, you take it home, you play it, and it kind of evolves it as it updates. With TVs, there is no end-all be-all. You want a brighter OLED? Oh, here's a Sony A90J. You want a better gaming OLED? Oh, I gotta go here. Not one of them has everything. There isn't one that's ever been made that's perfect, that does it all. There just isn't one. So you're picking and choosing, and you've done your research. You've watched me, you've watched everyone else, you've watched comparisons, you've watched people love it, you've watched people hate it. None of that matters until you actually purchase. You're not actually protective of that product until it's yours. And that's going to lead me into the next part of what we do. All of us. Doesn't matter which channel you watch or reporters, they're there to do a review. Now, if it's a professional website, if it's a reporter, their job is to look at it, report on it, and then it goes back, or they were visiting somewhere, or they didn't buy the display. So they're able to be as honest as possible. They give you their thoughts. The problem with that is these panels continue to evolve. They continue to change weekly. You'll have this panel behind me, which is the Sony X90J. Didn't perform well when it was launched. And then literally a few weeks later, it takes a firmware update that changes its performance. Now, for those of you that review the X90J at launch, it's hard to say you should hold on to it until it gets its updates if your job is to review it. But keep in mind that we arbitrarily review these things. You're seeing us especially as we grow, I just hope whoever that's for is okay. You see, I apologize. You see that as we review them, it's arbitrarily, meaning it's easy for me to review something that's not mine. This display is on loan to me from Value Electronics. I have no vested interest in it. I like it. I enjoy it. I'm not worried about it or concerned about it. The problem is those of you watching, once you purchase it, now you're concerned about it. Now you're hanging on every word. You hear, the X90J is a perfect example. TV's behind me. It is the successor to the Sony 900H from last year. It is brighter. It has a higher contrast ratio. It's a new panel with the new processor. And then right away, somebody with a 900H is like, oh man, I should have got that. I should have waited. And then you read the review from, say, ratings.com, which I love them, and you'll see it doesn't have as wide a color gamut. Then right away, that same group goes, whoa, thank God I didn't buy this. And then if you read down a little bit in that same sentence where they talk about color gamut, due to the higher peak brightness, it has a higher color volume. Now, you see what I'm saying? Little pieces of information are changing what you see. If you're home and you have a 900H, don't be so concerned about its successor. Now, the challenge with something like the 900H is the VRR support. What Sony was supposed to deliver, it is unforgivable that hasn't been brought yet. But the same goes for LG with this C1, G1 debacle. Something's happening with them. I don't know enough about it to accuse them or know for a fact what to say about it, other than if you're happy with the way your panel looks, just enjoy it. Back to the C1 and back to, let me go back the other way to reviewers, myself included, is you see me probably more than the others talk about my own displays. I don't buy TVs, I don't review them and then send them back. So you'll see very few panels here. Either I buy them for myself and I keep them, or they're lent to me from my friend Robert at Value Electronics. I'll borrow them, I'll check them out, I'll show them to you, and then I'll send them back. But the channel I have, our community, is not based on me buying a bunch of them and then sending them back to the store. That's not something that I do, and I'm not even interested in it. The psychological aspect I'm more interested in. But the point is, if I was to do that, buy it, love it, kill it, whatever, and then send it back, it's easy for me to do that because I'm not vested in the panel. It's not mine. So when I'm delivering bad news on it, now if it gets a bad review and it doesn't do things particularly well, you shouldn't feel bad about it because that's you doing your research. The problem I have with the after purchase is something like we're seeing with the C1 and the G1. And while we, not carelessly, and I'm going to bring FOMO back into this conversation because we spoke on this last night. He says that, when he delivers news like the C1, G1 Evo debacle, he does it with exuberance because he's a fan and he's excited. So even if he's bringing you bad news, he's fired up about it, which is why he's thoughtful enough to say, hey, look, you might need to follow my videos up with a tech therapy video. But what's interesting though, is while his information and all, so go back when he brought that to me, and I paused and I hesitated and I thought to myself, how many people do I know that have bought C1s? Why do I want to follow up with a dunk and say, oh my God, they're garbage. Skip this year. Don't do this. Don't do that. This is what's happening. Oh my God. having no idea if it can be changed or adjusted, having no idea the real true story. So I wanted to pause. But for me, the biggest concern is those of you that are home that bought that panel. I don't care where you buy them, by the way. Bought that panel, you sat back, you turned it on, and you're loving it. You're with your partner, you're home, you love it. And I can tell because I get all the feedback. Wow, it's amazing. Wow, I love it. Wow. And then within a few days, I start getting these comments like, hey, did you see FOMO's video? You know, what did you think of FOMO's video? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of the Evo? And it's not knocking FOMO. Him delivering that information is extremely valuable. It's extremely valuable, and he's up on that to the moment. In fact, we discussed this Evo thing 2 weeks before that, but without the facts, we couldn't bring it to you. However, my hesitation isn't to hide that information from you. I don't want to hurt you needlessly. I don't want you looking at your display as it's tainted or that you made a mistake. Now I have people that are literally trying to break into the service menu to see if they have an Evo, to grab the 10% peak brightness or the 5% peak brightness. I've seen non-Evo panels in Value Electronics. I spent time with them. You can barely see the difference. And if you do, it's in some minimal specular highlight scenes. It is negligible. If I took them and I spun them around and changed them around, you would not notice. But it's not the reality of the situation. It's your perception of the information. It's what you're doing with it. It's you're sitting there now thinking you made a mistake. You're checking your return window. You're saying to yourself, oh my God, now I got to go A90J, or I have to go here, or I have to go there. Now it's tainted to you. And the only analogy I have, and it's not always appropriate, it's like meeting somebody that you really love. You're dating, you enjoy them, they're great, they're funny, they're smart, and then one of your friends tells you some information about it that you didn't know previously. And now all the positive things you thought of that person are now tainted. Now they have no value. It is a terrible game to play within your own mind. And the reason why I'm speaking to you directly this way is when you get into the jungles of forums or the comments, you have no idea who you're talking to. You have no idea if that person is rooting for you or rooting against you. There are many people in all walks of life that just sit on the sidelines and just hate on things or criticize things. They're happy. I'll give you an example. Last year, the LG CX, I call it the CX. I remember when the C9 came out. The C9 had its issues. C9 was awesome. I personally like the C8 the best out of them all. But C9 and 48 gigabytes per second, right? So some people end up wanting to buy the CX. It was a new panel. They pre-ordered it. They bought it. Then there was the whole 40 gigabytes per second debacle. It wasn't 48. It was this. People needlessly, but not needlessly, they thought they bought an inferior product, tortured themselves, sent that display back. Now, I know you can't wait for it to play itself out, but it's a part of information that literally paralyzed people. It's paralysis by analysis, and it means nothing. It changes nothing. And then you'll have people say, this is too dim, this is too bright. And here's the funny thing about a lot of this information. I've been in front of all these panels for hours at end. Whether it's the brand new A80, the A90, the Z9G, the 950H, all the panels you could name in the last few years I've been in front of. The highest end panels. And you'll be surprised at how many times you could switch them around and not really see a huge difference. But hearing the comments, how clearly this one destroys that one, that gets into your mind. Don't let it. Be confident in your purchase. Be confident that you don't know who's on the other side of those comments or what their real reasoning is. It doesn't matter. I'm not talking about specific creators. I'm talking about the nameless ones that are, bringing that doubt to you. Buying displays They're supposed to bring you joy. They're supposed to make life more relaxing. Now, due to the panel lottery and DSC and all the problems all of us have had with these panels, that is tangible. That is awful. I went through it. It's terrible returning these things. And that's something I can't change for you. But your perception of information is creating defects that aren't there. Now, whether you have a C1 or that's an Evo or it's a CX, these are things that we would never know. Now, knowledge is power. Yes, it's important to know as much as you possibly can. However, many of you are changing your thoughts and changing your mind and judging something you already own that you found joy in because of information that you never would have been able to see. Now, as I mentioned, you can't tell if yours is an Evo panel or not. I was in the store with Evo C1s, non-Evo C1s, and I really couldn't see a difference. If I walked out of the room and we switched them around, I would have had a hard time. But some of you guys are agonizing about this. And it bothers me. It bothers me that things that are supposed to make your life better, they're supposed to add to your life, are taking away. And you're allowing other people that don't even have the panels. I can't tell you since I started YouTube how much I'd hear that thing's a piece of crap. This thing's a piece of crap. Guys, I don't care what you buy. I don't care if you buy the most affordable display. And this is where we're going to get into the ignorance is bliss part. My parents have an OLED, right? I think they do have a C8. And they love it. They live up in Arizona, and they were like, we need something larger. I want a large panel. I think theirs is 65. And they wanted an 85, 86 inch. So I'm throwing all of these different models at them. Well, they just rebuilt their house. They're like, I'm not trying to spend that on a TV. I'm getting this. And it is the most bare bones Samsung that Costco carries. Now they have an OLED. My dad is so happy with his OLED, with his LED. He's like showing it off to his friends. It's colorful, it's vibrant, it's bright, it's beautiful. Look how big it is. And it is the most simple Samsung they have in terms of its design. No real, high color gamut, none of the extra things, full array, the things that we all covet. He loves it. And he has more joy out of a TV that he grabbed, the first one he saw, than most of us do that have such pain going through this. So here you are again, you've researched things to death. He went and bought some random panel. He's watching it every single day. You've packed up 3 TVs already because you heard information that you should have heard, but right away it's tainted it for you. So I meant about affirmation. So you bought a C1, you bought an A90, you're happy. A90, we'll go back to that one with 4K 120. It's having some issues, some problems. Right away, people are going to love that the top TV is trash. It's garbage. It's no good. It's easy for someone to say that had no interest in buying it at all. But you're letting somebody tell you what you have is tainted who doesn't even have it. And many people will hang back and just fight from the bleachers and throw it at you. Don't let that do anything to you. Even if they tell you, yeah, I had it, I hated it, blah, blah, blah. Just really trust yourself. Take everything we all say, put it somewhere in the corner, and then trust your eyes. What do you see with your own content? Now, if you tell me you have a brand new panel, Brian, it's not bright enough, I don't like it, that's fine. I completely understand that. And that's legit to have issues and not love something. But don't let anything else tell you it's no good. Don't let anyone else, with the information we bring, and like I said, we arbitrarily deliver that information. So, a perfect example is talking about a heatsink possibly on an LG next year. Now, obsolescence is part of technology. Everything that we have will eventually be obsolete, whether it's the camera I'm using, the TV behind me, the car outside. It's just a fact of technology. But sometimes, again, talking about what might come next year, because we have something that we need to talk about something at times, and we're reporting on what we hear. Your display, you already feel like it's too old. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should not do anything. Maybe I should sit back. You can do that for years. Those of you that bought A9Gs or AAHs, you can't believe I just bought this thing. It's an A9. Let's stay with the A9G for 1 second. All right, it's an A9G Master Series. Probably one of the best looking OLEDs ever made. Again, Master Series. There is a prestige to that display. It's still the panel that grabs your eye whenever you walk in the store, especially at 77. And those of you that were watching that panel drop in price after 2 years, from $9,000 to $6,000 to whatever the prices are now, you bought that TV at, say, $3,000 or $3,500. And then here's the A80J or the A90J. And you're looking at it like, oh my God, I can't believe I blew it. But in reality, you got a $9,000 TV for $3,000. You bought a top-of-the-line panel from a few years ago. It's still a Master Series. But you're looking at it differently because the new price is this. Or it doesn't have HDMI 2.1. Well, you knew it didn't have HDMI 2.1 when you bought it. There's always a chance of that. Yet you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to say, well, and people say this arbitrarily, Sonys are terrible for gaming. That's not true. They're not terrible for gaming. They're excellent for gaming. Are they as fully equipped as an LG? They're not. Is an LG as fully equipped as a tiny, super fast IPS monitor? And they're getting there, but they're not. So to pick these things apart after you have purchased them is something that is folly. You're literally beating yourself up and not enjoying what's there. If it's defective, throw it in a box, get rid of it, buy something else. But the information that we bring you, some people, again, will glee in the fact that they're bringing you this information, that they know they're hurting you, and they don't care. What we do is all about views and clicks and who watches what. As a creator, as a small creator, of course, I want to pay attention to what videos do best. These videos on my channel do the worst. They're my favorite. It's what sets me and our community apart. I will do more of them. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. But that same thing is I'm also not looking to hurt you or hit you over the head with every single bit of news. That's not taken away from my friend FOMO. He does a bunch of other things that I don't do. And he's amazing at dropping that knowledge. And he's excited about it, which is why he said to me, look, follow this up with a little tech therapy. We're going to do live streams about this very subject. PC gaming, every 5 minutes, something's faster. But it can't be faster without your product being slower. Obsolescence. But that's not what this is about. This is about you have something already and you let something else taint it. You let someone else taint it. Now, the challenge with reviews, as I mentioned before, is they're not as quickly released as they once were. There's shortages everywhere. You're seeing people on YouTube get TVs before retailers, before professional reviewers. You're seeing people without channels getting these TVs first. Then they get into the forums, and the forums are valuable in themselves. But my point is, there's so much information out there. You buy on that information, you do your research, but then if you continue to look for reviews, this is the whole point of the video, after you purchase, you continue to look, you're going to come across somebody who hates the panel or somebody who has this new information. I'm already hearing from people, do not buy the C1. Do not buy the G1. They're awful. They're this, they're that. They're not. Do they have to be leaps and bounds better than what comes before it? Nothing's ever really going to be that way. Sometimes they do have bigger leaps, but they're progressively better The processor, will next year bring a heatsink to it and be brighter? Possibly. But you're going to wait an entire year for that? In the meantime, enjoying the technology, enjoying our games, enjoying our movies, those moments are important. I'm living it now. My 77-inch CX was defective. It went back to Value Electronics. I've been enjoying or using 65-inch TV and a 55-inch CX. I can't stand it. I miss my home theater. Now, it just so happens that it's destroyed now and it's got to be rebuilt, which is why I don't have a new TV. But I'm not going to wait another year. So I'm currently looking at the 83-inch C1. And if I don't get an Evo panel and it's 5%, now think about what 5% really is. 10% really is. It's barely even noticeable. I'm still going to buy it. Now, am I tempted to buy the A90J because it's brighter? But that doesn't suit my needs. So what I do is I'm taking the information that comes at me and I have to go through it and say, okay, yeah, the A90J is probably better at this, but I use it for that. And yes, it's maybe not the Evo panel, but it's going to be, and I have the CX there and I love it. So, okay, that's my decision. But I won't let anybody else in the comments change my decision. But here's the difference. Being a content creator, and I'm being very honest with you guys about this, I don't fall really in love with anything that I have. Simply because I know as a content creator, it's all temporary. I won't have displays for 4 or 5 years. I'm not going to be committed to them. I'll be replacing my Sony 900E, which is downstairs, and donating it. I have a community. I have a channel. I have to buy new technology. But I don't get as passionate about, is it okay? Is it all right? I'm not as worried about it or as guarded. You guys make these purchases. These purchases are your heart. That's your new baby. But protect it. If you're happy with it, out of the box, for a while, just for a while, unplug. Stop watching me. Stop reading reviews. Don't look for affirmation. If you're happy with it, enjoy it. Now, the thing, as I mentioned before, with whatever LG's got going on and whatever's happening with Sony and not delivering on their promises, that is terrible and not what we're talking about here. That is them not delivering on promises. Buy your displays on what they are. If the A90J has problems with 4K 120, assume it will always have that. Assume it will always be there. And then buy on that information. But once you buy, and again, if you're not buying, research all day. Read every line you can. But once you buy is the part of the conversation that we're talking about. It's your mental health that I'm concerned about. It's how you are at home. It's how you are when you are now commuting again. And you have just a few minutes to play a video game. Or just a few minutes to watch a show with your spouse or your partner or whatever. I don't want you having your TVs in boxes. I don't want you searching every little piece of information once you have it. Before you have it, research it all day. Make yourself nuts. Once you have it, take your web search history and clear it. Because trust me chasing the panel lottery, not because of information, because of actual defects, it made me crazy. I'm thankful because it brought me to you guys. But as far as what it did for me and the time I lost, my kids were little. And here I am pouring over information about TVs before I even had a channel. Letting what was said bother me. Oh my God, did they say? And at this point, what I meant was I'm looking everywhere but at the screen. Oh, this one said this one has this blur. And look at the screen. Watch your own content and then make your decision. Once you make your decision and you have that wow moment that so many of us covet, stop watching. Don't look for affirmation. Don't buy for bragging rights. That's a painful, painful place to be. Buy for what you use it for what you love, and trust your own taste. I can tell you that that TV is better than this one, or this one's better than that one. It's all about what you like. Learn to know what you like. Trust yourself. Be confident. And don't let the things that you own you. Enjoy them. Make them work for you. And think about what you're listening to. Yes, the information is valuable. The knowledge is important. It's also important to know that maybe you shouldn't go into a service menu and disable or enable and then void your warranty. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do that, but those are the kinds of things that now you're not even enjoying your panel. You're sitting there looking at, should I do this? Should I do? In the meantime, time is just passing. Research, be thorough. Knowledge is power. But when you're enjoying something, ignorance is absolute bliss. Thank you so much for watching. These videos are absurdly long. No one made it this far, and that's okay. I love doing this. This is where my heart is. Love you guys, and I will see you in the comments. Take care.